Harington is still here with me, and we're going to get my next guest right out of here. Now, there are a lot of great comedians in this country, but to my mind, this man is the funniest of them all. It's the fabulous Mr. Frankie Boyle.
Now we let you do that on the button.
I'm sorry, we've taken the mouth of truth away. You don't get to play with it. It was terrifying. Are you a Game of Thrones fans before we start?
Oh, yeah, I loved the books. I read all the books.
You read all the books?
So that I could spoil it for everybody. Oh. And, I actually had the worst experience with you and my son. I know we've never met before. But we watched Pompeii together. My son was about 6 at the time.
Yeah. OK, shall we point out that's the movie that Kit made about 3 years ago?
Yeah. And he loved it, like adventure, you know, sword fights, all that stuff. He just loved everything about it. And then halfway through, it gradually dawned on me that this was the story of Pompeii, so that everybody was going to die by the end of the film. And I was trying to say to him, gently tried to suggest to him, look, maybe not everybody's going to make it here. Maybe this is going to be the first time you don't see a happy ending. And he was like, no, I think it's going to be fine. They're doing really well here. I don't know if you remember, the film ends with you and your love interest kiss for the first time just before you're consumed by a tsunami of boiling lava.
Yeah, but Frankie doesn't mean he's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be in Pompeii too, playing with corpse. But so your little boy saw that, though?
Yeah, and he just, at the end, he didn't say anything about it. He just looked up at me and he said, I'm going to think happy thoughts before bed so I don't have a nightmare. Oh. It was so sad.
There was an alternate ending where we outrun the lava flow on a horse.
Really? Can you get it for me?
Well, they put that one out. OK, so it's great to have you. You just finished your tour, Hurt Like You've Never Been Loved. That's out now on Netflix. Now, you said last time, though, I interviewed you, that you were giving up stand-up.
Yes, I'd really like to, but I can't seem to stop. I'm very old now, and I've got a body like a dropped lasagna. Women now look at my naked body, Jonathan, in the same fearful way that pensioners look at snow. And I've sort of got to stop touring and try and get back in shape, but I can't do it. I don't want to be too explicit here, but at the moment, when I get an erection when I'm lying down, it sort of looks like a motorcyclist emerging over the brow of a hill.
Well, that's only from your point of view. But you could exercise while you're on tour. You could watch what you eat on tour.
Sort of, but I don't, because it sends me into, not a depression exactly, but a certain sense of futility and horror. And also, I seem to be insulting towns as I travel around now.
Yeah, no, I've noticed this, because you'll go on Twitter before you arrive somewhere.
Yeah.
And you'll talk about it in a less than complimentary way.
That's my shtick.
Yeah. And then you'll put a photograph up of the station when you arrive, and what do you normally call that photograph?
Guess the shithole. Yeah. But I sort of think people must realise that I'm joking, because I come from a city where people think that hepatitis B is a vitamin. Yeah. There's got to be a bit of give and take. Yeah. And also, some of these places are shitholes.
Yeah. It's like a public service.
Yeah, I got a lot of stick in Coventry. Coventry's the only place I've ever been where I've seen a man chase another man down the street with a plank of wood on 2 separate occasions.
You know, we've been talking about Frankie travelling on tour, of course. You've travelled quite a lot filming. You film in Iceland quite a lot, is that right?
Yeah, we spend a lot of time in Iceland.
Now, do you embrace the culture when you go there? Do you enjoy the local delicacies? Do you visit the nightclubs? Do you immerse yourself in that sort of culture when you're away?
Yeah, I loved it. Have you been to Iceland before?
No.
It's a fantastic place. I fell in love in Iceland.
You fell in love in Iceland?
Yeah.
Who did you fall in love with?
I fell in love with my co-star.
This is Rose, who plays the Greek... who I've met, who is just the loveliest girl, and she could do so much better. Frankie, do you enjoy any aspect of being on tour? You must enjoy being in front of an audience, Frankie.
No, I hate it. I don't know, it's just like a strange compulsion. It's like a fetish or something almost, that I get up and tell everybody how much I hate them and how much I've hated coming to their town, and they sort of applaud. Sometimes, this is horrible now, people have started shouting out, oh, don't do that, we love you. And I've trained for abuse.
Yeah.
So it's a bit like people hugging a Shaolin monk or something. I just feel horrified and soiled by that.
How do you deal with hecklers then? If they're being abusive back, how do you respond?
I've started trying to be honest with them, and I've got to stop because it's just got too horrible. Some of the hecklers are getting weirder as well. I was flashed at in Grimsby, which is a horrible sentence. But a guy stood up, waved his willy about, and then was thrown out. And then I thought, wait a minute, he's actually committed quite a serious sex crime in front of a couple of thousand people. Like a hard-working real flasher would take years to build up that score. And he's pulled it off. He's not pulled it off. He's and then the local paper the next day ran a headline where they said, "Flasher not from Grimsby." And they claimed that he was from Watford. But I think that was spin on the part of Grimsby.
How did they substantiate this?
They said he'd said it to someone as he sat down. You don't sit down in a theatre and say, "Hello, I'm from Watford."
No.
I think possibly I just come from a very negative culture.
Yeah. Well, so what part of Scotland are you from, Frankie?
Glasgow.
So you're from Glasgow, which I don't think of as necessarily being a particularly negative part of the world.
It's the most negative part of the world. If Kanye had been born in Glasgow, he'd be called No You Canny. I had a day off in the middle of the tour. I went to a coffee shop. This is just typically Glasgow. Two middle-aged women sat across from me and they ordered coffee, and as they sat down, they started moaning about how long they thought the coffee was going to take.
Yeah.
So nothing had happened. They were already angry. The coffee turned up. The first one takes a sip and goes, "That's not very nice, is it?" And the other one takes a sip of hers and goes, "I don't even like coffee." That's just it.
You know, you mentioned your little boy earlier. You have two children. Mm-hmm. OK, and so do you... what do you worry about with them growing up? What do you worry about in the world today? What are the things that you are concerned about them becoming adults in?
Everything. I worry about everything in this country in particular. I think we're living in quite an immoral society, with quite an immoral government, and, you know, they're going to have to grow up into that and negotiate their own way in it, you know?
And the world, America as well, of course, it being... What's your take on Donald Trump?
Oh, man, I'm just horrified. He's sort of like a pumpkin having a nervous breakdown. There's the air of, like, he's like a sort of corrupt televangelist that Columbo would have as a baddie or something. But he's really dangerous. I mean, he's like proto-fascist, almost. And Hillary Clinton isn't much better. I mean, she's like the establishment candidate. But if you're in one of the countries that America's destroying around the world, that election must look like, you know, someone's driving a combine harvester towards you and there's a chance that the wheel might be grabbed by a chimpanzee. Yeah. There's not really a good option in there.
Nothing good is going to come out of it either way.
No.
Yeah. So let me ask you, just generally, what's a good day for you, Frankie?
I had a great day once when I was on holiday with my daughter, and it was the day Andy Murray won Wimbledon, I think. And it was in Scotland, in a hotel, so everybody's really excited. It's all old people in this hotel. They can't believe it. And we went out riding, and my horse was he really didn't want to be ridden anywhere, and he was just taking shortcuts, and I was getting sort of scraped branches across my face. But my daughter was having a great time. And then it ended up with this coming back to the centre, and I thought, this has almost been like the perfect day. And I went to get off the horse in front of everyone, and obviously it's got to be a really big horse to take me. And I'd forgotten that, really, so I kind of, like, vaulted off it, dropped about 7 feet to the ground, and shouted, "Fuck!" in front of a lot of little children. And I think that's sort of the perfect day, because you have all the beauty, but you remember that life's essentially stupid as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, his show is on Netflix right now. It's called Hurt Like You've Never Been Loved. I think he's one of the funniest comedians working in the world today. Mr. Frankie Boyle. Thank you, Frankie. Still to come, we'll be joined by Anna Friel and Tiny Temper. See you after the break.